Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. I have a friend who's scared of puppets. I don't mean she's apprehensive around them. She gets full-on panic attacks if there's one in her vicinity. Someone once tried to cure her of it by locking her in a room with a puppet. She destroyed a computer trying to get away. She tells that story with a laugh, but that was a moment of uncontrollable terror for her. She didn't choose to smash the computer. She had an uncontrollable urge to be somewhere else, and the computer got in the way. She's gotten better since I've known her. She can look at pictures of them now with only mild discomfort, and she feels safe enough around me to be in the same room as a puppet if I'm there, just as long as she doesn't have to look at it. This fear stems from an incident in her early childhood where a large pile of puppets fell on top of her and pinned her to the floor in the middle of a thunderstorm. This traumatic experience caused her phobia, or fear of puppets. She's not too keen on thunder either. A phobia is an anxiety disorder, a form of mental illness. I'm going to reiterate that mental illness is a health condition, not a moral failing. And I'm going to link to the video where I discuss that in more detail. Phobias are characterized by an intense, unreasoning fear of an object or situation. They are not wary caution or simply disliking something. Things like homophobia or Islamophobia are also not examples of clinical phobias, despite the name. They're forms of bigotry and beyond the scope of this video. One of the characteristics of phobias is that the degree of fear is completely out of proportion to the danger posed by the subject of the phobia. Puppets can't hurt you, but that means nothing to the phobia. It comes from the part of a person's psyche that doesn't deal with rational thought, but rather impulse and instinct. Everybody has that part of their psyche. Yes, even you. Don't look so smug. Phobias aren't limited to individual things like spiders or snakes or giant barking dogs kept safely behind the neighbor's fence. There are more general versions like social phobia or agoraphobia. The first one is an aversion to interacting with people or going out in public. And the second is a fear of large open spaces. Social phobia is also called social anxiety disorder, and it's more than just being shy. It's accompanied by a fear of being judged by others, and people with it tend to fixate on how they present themselves. People I know who have it tell me they constantly monitor themselves to make sure they're fitting in and not committing any social transgressions, and it's exhausting. Again, this mental illness is a real health condition, not a moral failing, or something that's just all in their heads. Phobias are often associated with some form of trauma. Something intensely scary happened to you, usually when you were a kid, and your brain learned that intense fear response. Now, when you encounter that same scary situation, your brain responds just as intensely as it did the first time. This is a real medical condition, not something that's just in your head, even though your brain is in your head. Fortunately, phobias can be treated, usually in a way that involves teaching your brain to unlearn that intense response. One approach is exposure therapy, where you sit down with the thing that scares you in a safe, controlled environment and gently interact with it. Over time, as bad things continue not to happen, your fear diminishes. That's not an approach that works for everybody because every patient is different. I should add that locking somebody in a room against their will with expensive computer equipment is not a safe, controlled environment. Another treatment is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, where a person learns to manage their fear and panic and calm themselves. Because phobias are an anxiety disorder, anti-anxiety medications can help as well. Usually a treatment will involve all three of these things. That's phobias. They are a legitimate medical condition, not simply a dislike of something. Because they're a mental illness, they have a stigma associated with them, which isn't helped by lay people using the term phobia to apply to things that are not clinical phobias. If you have an unreasoning fear of something, you don't have to be ashamed. It's not an indication that something's wrong with you, but rather that something happened to you. Help is available if you need it. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.